Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about ejaculate responsibly. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, what the heck just came out of your mouth, Josh, just understand that it was weird for me to say it as well. Ejaculate Responsibly is a book. The subtitle is A Whole New Way to Think About Abortion. I am going to be giving a book review, the first one ever. Let's get to it.
What did he just say?
Okay, so if you haven't heard of Ejaculate Responsibly, this is a book that came out, looks like, I think it came out in the fall of 2022.
But that year.
It was written by Gabrielle Blair. Apparently, she ran a pretty well-known blog for a while for, I think it's called Design Moms, something like that.
Design.
But she recently came out with this book about abortion. Some of the points that she makes is very interesting, worth a good read, so I figured I'd give a review on it. A lot of what she says, though, is total crap, to be honest, just put it lightly.
Tell us how you really feel.
And I'm prepared to rebut it today. I want to talk about it. To start with, I want to read the dedication at the beginning because it really says it all. It says, "To the people of the future," and it's the first part that is important, that I think really shows kind of the thesis of this book. It says, "To the people of the future who get to live their lives with no anxiety about unwanted pregnancies, and to the responsible ejaculators," that's us men, "who I'm confident can and will make that possible." So it's that first part that's interesting to me. The people of the future who get to live their lives with no anxiety about unwanted pregnancies.
I don't want it, really.
There's this general sentiment in the pro-abortion movement that unwanted pregnancies, or essentially pregnancies just in general, are pretty much the worst thing that could possibly happen to you.
This is truly the worst thing to ever happen to me.
And that sex and childbearing is completely disconnected. That is a huge center for a lot of her arguments in this book. There are 28 arguments. I'm not going to go through all of them in this book review. There's just too many to name. But I do want to highlight a few that are interesting. Okay, argument 5. Birth control for women is hard to access and hard to use. And then we have argument 6 that goes hand in hand with that, which is birth control for men is easy to access and easy to use. My question with this, and this is honestly my rebuttal for most of these things, is like, so what?
So what?
Like, if it seems like the main problem that they're outlining is that there are unwanted pregnancies and that abortion is a great solution to that. But I don't understand why the solution, why is the solution not to make birth control for women easier to access? That strikes me very strangely. She's also basically saying because of the fact that birth control is easier for men to have, men have responsibility to essentially not ejaculate if they're not prepared to have that pregnancy. But I guess my biggest problem, so the thesis at the end of the day of this book is not just that pregnancies unwanted are basically the worst thing that could happen to you, but also that there's always someone to blame for these unwanted pregnancies. It seems like Gabrielle Blair has this kind of false dichotomy where it has to be the man's fault if there's an unwanted pregnancy, or it has to be the woman's fault. And what she's saying is that society up to this point has basically said that women have all the blame, and now she's saying men have all the blame. But I don't understand, I don't understand why this dichotomy exists. Why can it not be that in a consenting sexual relationship that both people are responsible for the child? That seems very straightforward to me. Another problem in reading the book is that the whole book also rides under the assumption that an unwanted pregnancy is inherently a bad thing. That strikes me as really kind of gross. She's not, I read the book. It's a quick read if anyone wants to check it out. I think looks like it's probably maybe 140 pages. Yeah, 130 pages, very easy to read. Half the pages aren't even full pages just because she makes the chapters so large, the chapter titles so large. What I don't understand is in the whole book, never once does she talk about any sort of a non-consensual sexual relationship. I think a lot of people have come to terms with the fact that that's a little bit of a different argument when we're talking about abortion. But she's not talking about that. She's talking about a consenting relationship. And so in a consenting relationship, I don't understand why the underlying assumption is that an unwanted pregnancy is a bad thing. That seems like an assumption that many people would not have because they value life and children. The other thing that she forgets to mention in this, and that is actually a huge part just in the physiological makeup of women and men, is that women are and have always been and will always be the gatekeepers to sex. And so I don't think there's I don't think there's a real dichotomy here of it has to be the man's fault, it has to be the woman's fault. But at the end of the day, women are the ones that choose where the sexual partners lie. Like, men will literally sleep with anything that moves. They're not that choosy. There's a few men maybe, but for the most part, a man goes to a woman, he wants to have sex, and she's the one that decides, yes, this is happening, no, it's not. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And so she forgets that a lot. I understand that men are the ones that are impregnating women, but the women are the ones that choose, just in nature. This is almost every mammalian species out there. Women are the gatekeepers. I want to highlight one argument that I think really boiled down the abortion argument and why I am strictly anti-abortion and pro-life, which is argument 22. I want to read argument 22. What it says is adoption is not an alternative to abortion, which pro-lifers will often say that it is. I think it is. Well, I know it is. But I want to read a paragraph in there that is particularly flawed and really shows the nastiness of her argument. She says, as a culture, we're beginning to understand that this narrative is deeply flawed. She's talking about the narrative that it's a win-win to adopt, which she's saying that that's flawed. That's not true. She says adoption is rarely a clean slate for anyone involved. The actual narrative includes well-documented, widespread issues in the adoption industry: corruption, trauma, human trafficking, which can bring lifelong negative repercussions for the child and the birth mother. You know what really brings lifelong negative repercussions for children? Being murdered. Like, I can't believe that she even said that. And that's not even talking about for the lifelong repercussions of a woman having an abortion and what that does to her mentally. I've met a lot of people who regret their abortions and live with that trauma for a long time. But just for the child, to say that adoption is going to bring long-lasting trauma, and so the solution of that is let's just make sure to kill them before they endure that trauma, is a ludicrous argument, and I hear it so much from people on the left. So if we need to do something about the adoption industry and reform it, let's talk about it. Let's not talk about aborting those people who might have to possibly go through the trauma. At the end of the day, what this book is basically telling you is to not take responsibility for your life. It's basically saying there are things outside of your hands. Somehow there's just magically, when you have sex, a baby can sometimes pop up. And because of that magical occurrence, men have all the responsibility. What women do when they give up that responsibility is they essentially give up their power. When you give up responsibility in your life, you're basically saying, I have no control over it, which I think is really counterproductive, especially in the progress that feminists have tried to make over the years. It really shows how weak that these pro-abortion folks think women are, and I think it's really gross. I think that taking responsibility is about the most powerful thing that you can do in your life, and that is especially applicable for the abortion argument. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This is my review of Ejaculate Responsibly. Go check out the book. It's a good read. It's very quick. I enjoyed it, and I think it really helps to learn about the perspective of the other side. For those of you who are listening right now and watching this video who are from the other side, I appreciate you watching my video. Please leave a comment down below what you thought about it, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.